So now we're going to show you how to go in and set the system up to authenticate into the OBM either with Active Directory or Tacacs. I'm in the system now. It's in the database mode. I came in using my administrator credentials. So I'm going to go to System Settings, and then from there I am going to go into the authentication settings in there. So under here, right now we're set for database. I can either set that for Active Directory, where it will automatically find the AD, or I can go to Radius Tacacs, which is what we use here. I put my server address in, which I've already done. I select Tacacs, it'll select the correct port, and then I put my key in for the Tacacs server. You also may have to put the address of the OBM into your Tacacs server depending on how that's set up. And I'm going to hit save. Now, something about using the external authentication servers is you need to look at roles and users. Even though we are using an external database, every time a new user comes in using Radius Tacacs or AD, we actually put that user in the database, just their ID. We don't put their password because we want to assign that user a role and allow you to change different port assignments that that user can access. So what's more important is roles. The default role of the system is administrator, and that gives you access to everything. I've created a role here called Tier 1, which removes a lot of administrative capability. You can make as many roles as you want, but in order to map to a role from AD or any of the externals, the group that you're in those databases has to match exactly the role in the OBM server. So you need a group called Tier 1. If you're in that group, you will be assigned this role. Right now, I have a checkmark default under administrator, which means if you don't match any of these roles, you'll be put into the administrative role. We do that here just because we're a small lab and it's not that big of a concern, but if you're in a large organization, if you remove both of those, if you don't match administrators or Tier 1, you will not be allowed in the OBM, which is probably what you want to do in your system, but we're not going to do that here. So I'm going to save that. And we are going to exit, so we're just going to double check. We've set Tacacs up. Okay, so now we're going to exit OBM. Okay, we can save this page if we want to look at it again. We're now going to start up OBM. And I'm going to use a new access, so if, hopefully this is in there. I haven't used this user yet. It's user 3, and you'll notice it shows no role, and the reason for that is because it hasn't been used yet. And I'm going to go try to access OBM. Nope. So it came in, and if you look here under users, you will find user 3, and you'll see that it has been assigned into the administrative group. Okay, and it has access to all the groups and everything you like to do. So from here, if you wanted to, you could modify the ports that you're allowed to have access to on any one of our devices. You can granulate that for host ports and power ports, as well as some other features. So that is it in a nutshell of how to set up for the external authentication. Let's go back here. So again, you can either have internal database or you can have Active Directory or Tacacs. Now also, along with these, if you fail your Tacacs authentication, it will try the internal database. So you can put a user in there. It's kind of like that's why we leave the administrator in there, or you could put a fail-safe credential in there to make sure you can't get in the database. You can also put a backup server address, which we're not using in here right now. While we're in here, you can enable email alerts. You can also set up SNMP addresses, and you can have the different criteria for what's going to generate an SNMP. Here you can put in your SNMP and your different alarms that are going to go out for that. Database manager here, you can do backups, restores, etc. from inside the system. You can also do that from the installation screens. Okay, so that's setting up external database access.